You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, Lucha Central Weekly.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Lucha Central Weekly podcast. This is the podcast that lets you know all the latest happening in the world of Lucha Libre. We cover news and events from the week that was, talking Mexico-based promotions and top independents, along with luchador-related news from throughout the United States. The Lucha Central Weekly podcast is part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network on luchacentral.com. This podcast and others from the network are also available on all major podcast streaming platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Podbase Speaker, and more. And of course, a shout out to our streaming partners at thechairshot.com. My name is Miranda Morales, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the Lucha Central Weekly podcast. And let me bring in the rest of the team. Introducing first, he is the dashing one, Mr. Dusty Murphy. Dusty, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. How's it going for you, Miranda?
I am doing well. And, well, we can't do the show without the third member of this trio, and that's who?
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 It is the one and only Brendan Barr.
That's who.
Hey. So how we doing?
I think it's been established as good.
Yeah, it's good.
Pretty good.
Just
Yes.
generally good. Okay.
Yes.
right.
I feel like that's the vibe that I'm getting.
I will bring myself up to good then.
Okay. The fact that you have to bring yourself up to good, like, that was a pretty low bar. I guess no pun intended or pun intended. I'm not quite sure yet.
Low bar was one of my early roller derby names, actually.
Ooh, okay. I see you. Okay. I forget roller derby is like the funnest names.
Yeah, they really do.
Very jealous. Very jealous. Well, ladies and gentlemen, listeners of this show, we got another jam-packed week of Lucha Libre content to cover for you. Some really interesting conversations this week. I really feel like a lot of what we're going to be talking about is some news that has been floating around, specifically AEW and WWE, but we got some cards to go over, both in the larger independents and smaller independents, and of course kind of just run down matches that you need to keep an eye out for this week. So I'm not going to keep you waiting much longer. We are going to start off with news of the week with Brendan.
So yeah, we've got stuff to look forward to, but I'm going to start off with some other stuff here. So Cassandro was at a ribbon cutting ceremony for a photo exhibit in El Paso. So like if you go to El Paso, Texas, you can go see photos from all across Cassandro's career, which I think is a pretty amazing thing to have in Mexico, let alone in El Paso, Texas. So, good on him for that. Just kind of excited. It's kind of the first time for appearing in public for a while. So, kind of good on that too. I guess, we didn't talk about it on the show, but Cassandro was kind of hurt for a while. So definitely all around good news. But I'm moving on. Speaking of matches that, or things to keep your eye on, GCW is once again announcing more luchadors. It's more of the same luchadors, but they're doing another card with it. They're going to have Black Taurus and Bandito on a card, and, the usual people are predicting that means Laredo Kid and a couple other luchadors are going to show up. So, maybe even Drago Kid again. I hear he got a good reception there last time. There you go. So GCW is quickly turning into a go-to lucha promotion. And then I just want to give a shout out. I don't have results for it, which is why they're not an indie roundup, but up here in Seattle, Lucha Libre Volcanica is running every Saturday this month in July. Nobody got to me for results and I had to work, so hopefully I'll make it to the next show this weekend, and we'll have some results for that. But Miranda, what's going on? You have a couple things we want to talk about, but I believe you wanted to run down the card for PCW.
Yes, PCW Ultra Way Out West is happening this Friday. That is July 15th. And this card, if you have not seen it yet, you will want to, because this is, stacked is a term we use pretty often. However, if you're looking at this card through and through, it's looking to be really, really good. If you are a Lucha Libre fan, there's multiple matches on here that you'll want to keep an eye out for. But let me kind of go through some of the ones that, in general, that are, sure to steal the show. We have your ultra light champion, Jay Vidal. He's going to be defending his title against Lucas Riley. With that, we have a number one contenders match for the light weight, or the ultra light championship. Danny Limelight's going to be taking on Lince Dorado. So I am excited to see Lince out here on the West Coast again. This is Danny's territory, so he's feeling very comfortable coming in. But we've seen Lince all over the country, just in killer format now, and he's so. He's just so formidable in anybody that he faces. So I think it's going to be a big, big challenge. But if anyone has kind of a home turf advantage, it is Danny Limelight. We're also going to see Toa Leona face Killer Cross. Two big ass dudes going at it. Toa Leona, we've seen more recently on Dynamite, on AEW television as part of the Ring of Honor brand, and Killer Cross, continuing to make his way through independent shows all over the U.S. and kind of more of a rare appearance here on the West Coast. So I'm thoroughly excited for that. We also have. Go ahead.
I'm gonna butt in for a second here. I would hope people would know Killer Cross as the NXT star, but you alluded to Toa Leona. Could you remind us who he is? Who he was appearing with on that ROH pay-per-view?
I forget the name of his tag team partner.
He's in the tag team, the one, the Tully Blanchard managed tag team.
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I was picturing the right guy.
I forget the name of the tag team and his partner.
Yeah, but we can refer to them as Tully Blanchard Enterprises, because that's how they've been billed on at least a couple of things. So
yes, and I forgot they do have.
Not Brian Cage. Wasn't Brian Cage affiliated with?
Yeah, Brian Cage is affiliated with him,
yeah.
And then but Toa Leona is part of a actual tag team with an actual name. I just don't know what the name of their tag team is.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought. I just wanted to make sure we got the hoss battle in our heads right.
Yes,
here,
yes. We also have Viva
Gates
Van.
of Agony. And
Gates of Agony.
Khan is his.
Yeah.
Khan.
Yes, that's what it is. But yes, Viva Van, the Ultras women's champion, is going to be facing Rachel Ellering, with the title on the line. And then the big match, for this show, the main event, is going to be, the PCW Ultra Tag Team titles are going to be the line. War Beast is going to be facing up against Papo Esco and Slice Boogie, also known as Gorilla, the team of Gorilla. So, that is been, especially some big tension between Papo Esco and, the Sheik, as of last show. Now both of them are bringing backup, and this one. And from what I understand too, there has been a stipulation added that this is all violence is legal matchup as well.
I kind of assume that that's always true with Papo
Yes.
Esco in the ring.
Well, Papo and Sheik, though. Sheik was the one who laid that stipulation out. So Sheik is not one ever to not only turn away from a fight, but just leave a fight as is. He will always raise the stakes.
I did forget. All violence is legal is totally a War Beast thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is very much a War Beast stipulation. So that is going to be something else. Like just those matches in it of itself. Again, if you are a Lucha Libre fan, or just Lucha adjacent fan, all of these competitors, have that, background tie into it. So I think that's going to be, again, very, very interesting. Also, in general, we have Steve, Madison versus Shane, Haste, I believe. Haste? No, Haste. So it's still just great technical wrestling throughout the entire show. So I am super, super excited, as well as special guest appearances from Booker T and Savio Vega. So I believe that's going to be part of the meet and greet.
You're going to be in the same room as Savio Vega?
Yeah. I'm freaking out right now, you guys. Like, my Theo, your Theo, Savio Vega, I'm going to be in the same building.
You're going to pick up that chair after all.
Who knows, I just there's so much Puerto Rican pride happening on this card as well that I don't know what to do with myself. I may be hyped all night, where people are going to be like, Miranda, calm down. You're embarrassing yourself. But I do have my flag ready to go. I'm packing it. I don't know if and when it will be needed, but I'm still bringing it. It's still going to be something I'm bringing. So, but in general, this PCW Ultra card way out west is something you don't want to miss. Tickets are still available. I believe that the online tickets end tomorrow at noon. Well, by the time you may hear this, it will probably be afterwards. But also tickets at the door. And you can also just go on PCW Ultra's social media at PCW Ultra to see information about match card announcements, talent announcements, merch, all of that. So if you're not able to go to this show, make sure you stay tuned for future PCW Ultra events. They consistently have fantastic shows. Always, with a Lucha Libre presence. Last show you had Sin Bodhi versus LA Park, as your main event. Ultras had a very long history too with luchadors.
Yes.
So this is, it's just a continuance of this. And again, like 80% of this card is Puerto Rican. So shout out to PCW Ultra for that shit, because that's awesome.
And then one more time, I know it's not as far out, we don't need to do the detailed preview, but Pro Wrestling Revolution's got dates coming up.
Yes, Pro Wrestling Revolution has dates coming up. They actually recently just announced their King City show for Saturday, August 20th. That information is now posted on their website. Tickets are now available, and match and talent announcements. Well, I know talent announcements have started. I know match announcements will be coming out soon. And then they still have tickets available for their July 30th show in Santa Rosa. That's going to be happening in just a few weeks. Tickets are also available for that. And again, a very stacked card for that show. That's including Dr. Wagner Jr., who's going to be facing J.R. Kratos for the Pro Wrestling Revolution Heavyweight Championship. We also have a tag match, kind of what they call a special attraction tag match with Papo Esco teaming up with Vinny Massaro versus Pagano and Bestia 666. The Pro Wrestling Revolution Women's Championship will be on the line, with Lady Apache facing La Güera Loca, Taya Valkyrie. And of course the United States debut of two Masked Republic talents, Ultimo Maldito versus Archangel Divino, and again, their debut. They are part of the launch of the Masked Republic talent agency, where they are now representing luchadors, and their ability to come and wrestle, of course, in the United States, but also helping negotiate, their ability to wrestle for promotions throughout the United States, and I'm sure in other parts of the world as well. So, Pro Wrestling Revolution, Saturday, July 30th in Santa Rosa. Tickets are available. You can find them at luchalibreboletos.com. That is luchalibreboletos, BOLETOS.com.
Excellent. So, as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't able to get Lucha Libre Volcanica. There is, as always, a ton of IWRG I could have covered, but I couldn't find a card that I really wanted to cover, and we've got some good conversations for later in the show. So we're going to once again ask for people to submit results for us, because I really want to support your cards as well, instead of just reading off the IWRG results every week. So we're not doing a lot with the Indie Roundup, but we're not giving up on it. So this week we're not doing a lot. Give us your results. Let's do some more. I know Miranda's going to be bringing me results next week, but everybody else, if you're even if it's one lucha guy on a show in Alaska, I still want to hear about it. So that was our This Week in News and Indie Roundup. Miranda, take it away.
Yeah. Right now, you know what time it is. We're going to kick it to Denise Salcedo, who's bringing us this week's Lucha Central.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central with a reminder of where and when to catch all of the great network content this week. Get the full lineup and listen to all of our shows in the podcast network section of luchacentral.com. On Tuesdays, Math, Mats, and Mayhem takes you inside the world of Lucha Underground as they take you weekly through the series with the benefit of hindsight and the benefit of special guests from the groundbreaking series. Check out the premiere video stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Lucha Central YouTube channel and at luchacentral.com. Then listen to it on your favorite podcast platform every Wednesday. Tuesday nights live, it's Wrestle Boss, where Fabi Chulo talks MMA and pro wrestling with special guests and listener call-ins. Visit WrestleBossLive.com Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific to listen live or call in with questions, or download the show on podcast platforms on Wednesdays. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. Special guests and a whole lot of fun make it one of the most talked about shows in Mexico. Thursdays, it's Straight Out of the Bodega with Papo Esco and PWR promoter Gabriel Ramirez, as they have guests from throughout the wrestling world pull up to give an inside look into their careers. From indie standouts to television superstars, each week brings a new name and perspective. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly podcast, one in English y el otro en español. Lucha Central Weekly is where you'll find all the top stories of the week, both inside and out of the ring from Mexico and anywhere luchadores are in action across the globe. Be sure to subscribe and follow all your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms, either by their own series name or subscribe to the Lucha Central Podcast Network show pages to get all of the shows in one easy feed. And please consider giving a rating to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central. Have a great week.
Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Masked Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to lucha-masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at lucha-masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
A big thank you to Denise Salcedo, who brought us this week's Lucha Central, letting you know what's happening throughout the Lucha Central Podcast Network. All right, we're getting into the meat of today's episode. We are going to be starting off with AAA, and we're going to be talking a little bit and previewing a bit of the Verano de Escondalo card. Dusty, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, well, pretty much the entire card was announced. It's going to be August 5th in Agua Caliente, Mexico. Big show. Let's see. Sorry, my notes are slow to load here. But, sorry, here we go. First match that we want to talk about is the main event. Like, Phoenix, Pentagon, and Taya are teaming up in kind of a mini Perros del Mal reunion. And they're going up against the very interesting team of El del Vikingo, Black Taurus, and Cheek Tormenta. People were kind of confused about Vikingo and Taurus teaming up, but I feel like maybe there's some bad blood there due to that Triple Mania Chapter 2 title unification match that Phoenix won. So it makes sense to me. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Vikingo and Taurus teaming up. In this trios match, we'll see how... Go ahead.
It also adds that classic WWE story. I know everybody else does it, but WWE's been abusing it in the last year. How will they get along? So, you know, there's lots of...
How can they coexist?
Right there it is. How can they coexist? Yeah,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going into the story with that. And I think especially the story with Phoenix and Penta and Taya kind of teaming up in that mini Perros reunion.
Right.
I think it'll be really interesting. Both teams, honestly, are going to this match is going to draw the most international interest of any match at Verano de Escondalo. I mean, it's going to be a big deal. But the implications it provides in terms of attention may affect Triple Mania Chapter 3. Taya, had promised a match to Thunder Rosa. She'd also promised a match to Lady Flammer. A lot of interesting things could go on between now and Triple Mania just based on this match. Super exciting. We had seen it kind of alluded to before when Taya re-debuted in AAA. They gave us the feel that they might be pairing her with Penta and Phoenix, but now we finally have confirmation. This is going to be an incredible match. I can't wait. Again, August the 5th is when this is airing. Next, next up on the card, we have the AAA World Trios Championship. The championship team is La Empresa, made up of Puma King, DMT Azul, friend of the show, Mr. Sam Adonis. They will be facing Nueva Generacion Dinamita, Sanson, Cuatrero, and Forastero. Pretty cool match. They've only got 2 trios belts, but it's still the trios title. Very exciting match. Big names. That's gonna, maybe be a show stealer. Yeah. Strong lineup. Next up,
we can't undersell this enough. Like, this is Cuatrero Forasta, the NGT. They are a through and through trio that has been inspired by previous generations of trios. They're, I believe all 3 of them are second or third generation wrestlers from dynasties.
Yeah, at least second generation, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you have DMT Azul, Puma King, and Samito, who are the hottest thing in AAA right now. So, like, you've got kind of legacy versus the new kids on there. There's some cool storytelling going on just in that alone.
I really think this is going to be, despite the talent in the main event and that being a very exciting trios match, I feel like this is going to be the one that steals the show. And maybe the one that people aren't prepared for to steal the show, which is kind of nice. Expectations aren't as high and they get to benefit from that.
The main event has to hold on to get to be the match of the night, whereas this one will have to raise the bar, and everybody involved is quite capable of raising the bar. So could easily be the one.
And next up, we have Brendan's least favorite team in a trios match. Psycho Clown, Pagano, and Charlie Manson versus Psychosis, Cybernetico, and Abismo Negro Jr. I mean, it'll probably be a fun match. I think we'll see the cookie sheets come out.
We absolutely will, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Pagano.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun to see Charlie Manson back.
Yeah, I think that's always kind of I don't know, he always feels like a cult classic.
Yeah.
In a way. Like he's very someone that, now when people hear his name are like, oh, like there's a little sense of nostalgia and also like, oh, that's kind of random, but cool that he's also now in the mix too with kind of these more modern names.
Yeah, he's really kind of earned his legacy respect in a big way, which is fun for him. And then next up, we have a very exciting match. AAA is calling it the 4-way dream match. We have Laredo Kid versus Willie Mack versus Bandito versus Johnny Caballero, Johnny Hardy, whatever, Johnny Caballero for the night. 4-way dream match. I am super excited about this.
Yes.
We've seen Willie Mack, in a lot of lucha style matches, but him being the sole big man with these three guys that are so capable, I can't wait to see the spots. Like, he's going to be, in so many big spots. I'm just really looking forward to this.
It's going to be fun. Like, this has fun written all over this.
Let's be fair here. Johnny Caballero if Willie Mack wasn't in this, he would be the big guy in this match. And Bandito was really strong too.
Yes. Bandito is very strong. I think that they all bring something different to the table. Like Willie Mack, I guess, like you mentioned, is more on the biggest competitor in this match. But I think you have Johnny with kind of, I think it's almost tied maybe between him and Laredo Kid for the fastest. Which is crazy.
So fluid.
Well,
yes,
but just to point out at Triple Mania when he was Johnny
Hardy.
I can't even say it with a straight face when he was Johnny Hardy. When he was standing next to Matt, he was huge.
Yeah.
He's a big boy. I mean, I've been in the room with him, but I never got this as much sense of presence as when he was wearing that outlandish Hardy outfit. So he is, I forget, people underestimate how big and strong he is too.
Yeah. Yeah. So this, I don't know. This, definitely a scene stealer match. This is where we're going to get lots of, those internet clips, that they're going to be floating around. This match just makes me smile when I see this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the big highlights of the night.
It's your highlight reel match, to Miranda's point, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Then next up, we have an Apuestas match, an interesting Apuestas match, hair versus hair, between Lady Shani and Io del Tarantes.
This one, how did we get here? Because I think that was what we were like.
Yeah. This is a long story thing. So over lockdown in particular, Io del Tarantes was actually wrestling a bit, but he was wrestling against the women. And that was partly because they'd been fed up with his heelish tactics. We're still a little distant from that to where we are now in time, but I feel like they've known that this was going to happen for a while, and to Conan's point and a bunch of I think even Vampiro mentioned it, that Apuestas take forever, right? They build up over years. So we may not have seen a recent interaction between the two, but the thread of it's always been in the air.
That's very fair, yeah. Especially Io del Tarantes being, a Rudo ref. This feels like it's more like his comeuppance. And I'm here for that.
I see very little way, and I think that's what they want. I think that's very little way that Tarantes comes out of this with his hair. I think he's gonna There's going to be a lot of shenanigans. A lot of wrestlers are going to get involved. Torrante Sr. is probably going to get involved, but on the good guy side, because that's been a story that they've been doing for a while too, that he doesn't like the way his son is behaving, despite the fact that to this day Hugo Savinovich will still scream that Torrantes is a criminal and a crook. So
I think we could also see Fabi and Pachi involved somehow.
I believe so, yeah.
Because they have been, for at least 10 years they've been enemies. It's been a thing. And so I would like to see how that plays out into all of this too. I think it makes for a very interesting, very unusual match especially for Verano de Escondalo. You'd think the Apuestas match would be on Triple Mania. But I think that because it's on Verano de Escondalo, it gets a bigger highlight. Yeah. It'll be seen as a more memorable spot from the show. And it's going to be a big deal for Lady Shani if she, win or lose. Either way, it'll be huge.
I do want to ask, and kind of both of your guys' opinion and analysis. I think we still have to go through a match or two, but I know we've talked about it before, but just kind of too as a refresher for the listeners about where does a Verano de Escandalo land in kind of the AAA events layout, and kind of in particular, possibly like the comparison to SummerSlam.
Yes, it's very comparable to SummerSlam in a way, but also to Royal Rumble, despite not having the gimmick match of a Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble generally sets up your WrestleMania card. Verano de Escandalo usually sets up whatever isn't already set up for your Triple Mania card.
Okay.
But our Triple Mania card was kind of planned in advance already, so this ended up being a much bigger show, much more interesting.
By virtue of the 3 Triple Manias, yeah.
Yeah, that's unusual this year too.
Yeah, but also I think the matches just like this, where I think SummerSlam is known for having some more sports entertainment type of matches, or just like it is more similar within WrestleMania, where you'll have marquee matchups, but not necessarily in the same tone like as a Royal Rumble or Survivor Series.
Right.
Like, this is much more of like
fun.
Much more fun. So I definitely think that Lady Shani versus Hijo de Terrantes is very much in that, alignment of, marquee, but also, a little ridiculous, but also, like still something that, like you said, it's actually been rooted in story for a long time. So to bring it to this level, like it may not necessarily be a Triple Mania type of match, but it seems perfectly fit for Verano de Escandalo.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a great match. Like I say, it allows it to be highlighted in a way that it just couldn't be anywhere else. And so it just fits perfectly for Verano de Escandalo this year.
It potentially has implications that will lead into Triple Mania anyway, because
absolutely.
To your point, Lady Shani, win or lose, gets a big shine on her. So what happens, say if she wins, is Torrantes going to be turned technico and be good from now on, or is he going to be double down and be more wicked? And as that builds into Triple Mania, more things will happen with it. So
I hope
on one side of it or the other.
Old man in Mexico.
That's saying something.
But I totally agree. Yeah, when you have that side of it, but then you have either way it could go. If he goes technico, that's huge. I mean, that's a game changer in AAA. And just so much that could happen. Very cool. We also have one last match on the show. The heel team of Jesse, Diva Salvaje, and Dulce Canella are facing obviously the best trios team in AAA, Mr. Iguana, Aramis, and Nino Hamburguesa, with Microman at ringside.
This is it. This is it. If there's a Mount Rushmore of Lucha Libre in this moment, it would be these 4 gentlemen.
Yeah, you've got it's really weird to me that Aramis is kind of the odd man out.
Yeah.
Because he's the most straight luchador on this.
He's the only one that doesn't have kind of a double comedy thing.
Yeah.
And not to discount, because I mean, like we've mentioned before, Mr. Iguana, I mean, he's, I believe, a blue belt, and he, I mean, he knows some crazy stuff, so he can go. We've seen him in CZW, crazy stuff, but
he's a crazy
fun.
athlete,
Yeah, but he's also fun. And Microman, like, I can't wait to see how Microman gets involved. We've seen how Yeska gets involved in Mr. Iguana's matches, but can you imagine Microman? Like,
well,
this is
so
a dream come true.
You've got the well, I can't even remember the terminology that they use for these matches, but it's the fantastic pairs, basically, where you've got you've got Microman and you've got Nino Hamburguesa, so something weird is going to happen with the two of them being on the same team.
Yeah, it's a given. An exciting given. Like, it's something I'm really looking forward to on the card. And I mean, AAA has really knocked it out of the park this summer. They deserve a lot of credit, especially in the term of, like the way things kind of changed for them with Triple Mania 2 and Jeff Hardy in the main event and everything, the audible they had to call, everything that they've had going on this summer since the beginning of the first chapter of Triple Mania has just been fantastic. They've had just a great run. Everything on paper looks good. In person, it's even better. Like, if somebody told you John Morrison was going to replace Jeff Hardy in a tag match with Matt Hardy, you'd be like, I don't know. But when you saw it, it was so good. Like, he committed to it. It was tongue in cheek, but it was also serious. Like,
yeah. I do, for the sake of egalitarianism, do want to hype up the other side of the match from the Dream Team a little bit here. Dulce Canella has been a consistent ladies competitor up in the North, which, as we've talked about, is the kind of the kingmakers of the indie scene. So, like, you will see some good stuff out of her. Jesse Ventura is a up-and-coming exotico who's been doing a lot of work in IWRG. So, I mean, good on them for making it into a AAA match on a big card. Same with Diva Savai, another big up-and-coming name that I've seen doing a lot of matches out of IWRG in particular. So, like, you've got some good talent that's on that side. It's going to be a good match. It's not just going to be Microman destroying everybody on the other team. But
I don't know about that. I mean, have you seen Microman
I said not just.
I'm just saying. Over like Rover.
Yeah, he cannot be denied.
Yes, he cannot be denied. Did you see him drink a beer with the Sandman in the ECW arena? He's made it.
Yeah.
He is a crossover superstar.
I am
wrestling stardom.
I am not denying Microman's success or ability.
He's even got a shirt now at Hot Topic.
Yep. Yep. We're going to talk about that. And, yep.
Yep. Get to that later. But
We'll get to that in a second, but yes. Crossover mainstream superstar. Pound for pound, the best luchador in the entire world.
Oh, wow. That's a bold claim.
Hey.
I believe it.
I believe it.
Yep. I've seen it.
Like the Ark of the Covenant. Did your face melt?
Somewhere Blue Demon is waiting with a hammer for Michael.
Yeah, Verano de Escondalo, August the 5th. It's going to be a party.
Is that going to be on Fight? Do we know?
I believe it is. Yeah, I believe it's a Fight pay-per-view.
Okay.
Pretty exciting.
That is how we in the U.S. get to see it, because it's still technically.
Yeah, they're still technically under a lawsuit, but they've so effectively been like, what lawsuit? Yeah. That the lawsuit just kind of went away.
Yeah. It's the avoidance of life. So far, I mean, Fight hasn't asked any questions, so,
yeah.
It still works, yes. Well, we're, of course, going to be covering that. We'll be letting you know if there's, more match and talent announcements. And, of course, we will be covering Verano de Escondalo in the weeks to come. We're going to be moving into AEW this week, Dusty. Definitely a few points of discussion for this week in AEW.
Yeah, we got a lot of things going on. First up, we had Dark. And this week on Dark, well, first of all, we had a couple of matches, one involving Pac and one involving Thunder Rosa, that were filmed in other promotions. And that is so cool and so special, and it made Dark feel special and unique, like, very cool. This match was Thunder Rosa versus Miyu Yamashita. It was filmed at Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. It had a stipulation that affects the future. If Miyu won the match, she gets a title shot on Dynamite. So it made Dark feel not only unique in location by having these matches from other promotions, but made it feel important that this had some implication for the future, and pretty much felt important for the first time ever. It's still the show for purists. It has a lot of great wrestling, but this is the first time we've seen Dark exist outside of its little dark vacuum. And I'm really hopeful that now that the world is a little more open to travel, we're seeing more wrestling shows, that we'll see more of these matches from other promotions included on Dark. I love that idea of the indie promotions showing up there. This was a really unique opportunity for American fans to get to see Thunder Rosa in a Joshi promotion, and it definitely had that very big match feel. That's kind of been lacking from Dark. We've never had a reason to care, and they made this match just in production and feel very big. Started a little slow, but it builds into a really fantastic match with Miyu winning via roll-up. I mentioned it on the show, I hate the surprise roll-up, but the sequence they had, Rosa rolled up Miyu, and then they struggled. Miyu kind of rolled up Thunder Rosa, got the pin, but it was so visceral and so real, and the struggle between them was so authentic. I mean, it looked so just authentic. There was nothing where you had to, suspend your disbelief. Like, this was all believable. I cannot say enough good things about this match. It was so real. It was emotional. They didn't have to get crazy. Like, you kind of expect a match with Thunder Rosa, like, especially Joshi match, get kind of crazy, real tough. They didn't do that. They just really had great wrestling, told a story, just fantastic. The production and video and presentation looked so good. That's exactly what AEW needs for Dark, and it made the women's division look and feel important on an international level, and that is something they just haven't been able to do that yet. It's so important that they do it, and I'm glad that Thunder Rosa got that opportunity. She already had these connections in Tokyo. She's wrestled a lot of different places, Joshi style, and, it looks like they're going to start to bring in some of the Stardom wrestlers, from the Joshi wrestlers from Japan. A lot of cool things going on there. Thunder Rosa is at the beginning of this kind of blending the international style, and not only that, but we got to see the Lucha versus the Joshi. Just such a great matchup. I highly, highly recommend this match. It may not be the best match ever on Dark, but if it's not, it's the second best. Like, it is so good.
Well, as you said, it's the most important match. So
yeah, I mean, no match has ever felt this important on Dark.
Yeah.
Or had this much implication for the future of a, Dynamite or, even a Rampage, but very cool, very exciting. And we've talked about it before. It needs to exist outside of its little bubble. We need a reason to care about Dark. And if they keep putting on matches like this, people will definitely start to care. It's so good. I highly recommend you check it out on YouTube. It's free. Just check it out. Very good stuff. But then we didn't have much Lucha news on Dynamite this week, but we did kind of have some confirmation of some rumors. There had been kind of some discussions. Sean Ross Sapp had kind of mentioned or alluded to the fact that Proud and Powerful might not be getting along. And we had seen that Santana and Ortiz weren't really together, and now, I mean, they would appear sometimes in multi-man matches, 5-man matches, but not tag matches. We hadn't seen them together as a tag team some time. Conan says that he didn't really elaborate, but he said that they have heat between them.
That's that's almost the exact quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some heat there. That's
Yeah.
pretty much all he gave us, because it was a direct question, so he's not gonna not answer it. But
Yeah. And we've seen Santana counting down the days left on his AEW contract in Twitter. We've seen him winning the singles championship in Puerto Rico for the Latin American Wrestling Exchange. No interaction between the two, no tag matches, and something that I haven't seen mentioned really, but Ortiz changed his look. You know, he had that Apuestas match, shaved his head.
Yep.
He may be going for a different presentation, a little different style now outside of the tag team. So it's really interesting, really telling, and I mean, I feel bad that Proud and Powerful never got the chance to have their moment. There were so many times in AEW, especially after that street fight match, when they could have just pulled the trigger on them, when they should have pulled the trigger on Proud and Powerful. And we see it right now with Keith Lee and Swerve Scott. You know, they won the tag titles this week on Dynamite, but it feels like too little too late, like their momentum's kind of deflated a little from where it was. They did that with Thunder Rosa, when they held off on her winning the title until the Dynamite in San Antonio. And they just don't have the ability to deliver on the moment the way that they need to in AEW.
Now, I'm gonna ask the hard question here. This is the one the whole internet likes to put forth, and everybody has an opinion on it. Do you think it's because the Young Bucks are EVPs and they are all about tag team wrestling? Either of you?
I think it plays into it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I love Keith Lee and I really love Swerve Scott. Like, he is the guy. He should be a top single star.
Well, he should be top whatever. If this is a tag team, they should be a heavy push tag team because Swerve's there. Yeah.
But at the same time, it feels a lack of importance within AEW. Like, it didn't feel deflated.
Well,
it feels deflated.
I feel like there was really the peak when the Lucha Bros won the tag titles, and then when what did they lose it to Jurassic Express?
Yeah,
I don't remember the sequence, but I feel like that has kind of been, it's a kind of little bit of a slump right now, and I don't know if it's necessarily the booking aspect of it, or just maybe.
Right. Well, the plan was for the Hardys to be champions.
Yes.
So when Jeff had got his DUI, it threw everything up in the air. But they should have put Keith Lee and Swerve into that ladder match with the Bucks and Jurassic Express and had them win. And
or Proud and Powerful to the point.
Yes.
Yeah, but I also agree too. Like, Proud and Powerful at one point really had, more when they were. I think even some of the feud between, them and, what was the other faction? Was it the Pinnacle?
So they would, the two big ones they've had have been the Best Friends and the Pinnacle. Yeah.
So I feel like at the Pinnacle, like, that was really a peak of their, like, hotness as a team. And I think still too with Best Friends, but even then, like, I think maybe after the move with the Best Friends should have really then moved into, the tag team title scene. And
that's what we were saying at the time. Yeah, like that, they had that Best Friends street fight. That's the weirdness about this book ending with these feuds. Both times they got super hot with these amazing street fights, both of which had crappy endings. But, they had the fans were into it, and we would always come back on each episode and go, this is the time. This is the moment that they should strike. Well, these guys are hot. They should put them in the hot seat, give them the belts, and mix it up a little. Make the tag team belts feel important and not just as accessories for the Young Bucks to say they're cool.
Yeah, and again, too, I said it last week. Even if we would have had revisited a Lucha Bros, versus Santana and Ortiz feud, or, Lucha Bros versus LAX, again, that story was done years ago in a format in which not very many people saw. So to bring that back in another iteration could have been a very cool thing. And also to, the point, AEW has acknowledged times when they go back to feuds that existed before the promotion even began. So I absolutely agree that there was timing that was hot, that they could have done it, that they didn't, and now it's seemingly it's too late.
Yeah, and to the point that you're talking about, Lucha Bros, Proud and Powerful, or LAX, however you want to refer to them, redone feud in AEW is so big right now, even with the dilution that they have had due to not being used well, either of those teams, it's still big enough you don't need the belt. Like you can just make that a first hour feud and do it for 6 months and the fans will not tune out.
So it's interesting, and it's always something too. I mean, we've known Santana and Ortiz has this tag team for years. So just the notion that they are going to break up, and possibly one of them leave the company, it's big. It's big because they were really part of AEW from the very beginning. So for them to, to split up, like, that's...
I'm going to be brutally honest. I think they're both going to leave. I think one of them wants to leave. I don't think that AEW is going to have a role for the other one if he's not in that tag team. And that's unfortunate because they're both good. They both could probably easily do a singles run, but they've got too many singles toys right now. And, contracts
we've got
are
a trios championship coming up too. And, he's a great tag team player. They might be able to find a place for him in a trios matchup.
That is an angle that could be done to keep him. I'm not saying this is 100%, but as I'm seeing things play out right now, I don't see AEW putting a lot of effort into keeping him when the contracts expire.
Yeah, and it's disappointing too because even Jericho picked them as one of as the tag team. Tag team.
But at the same time, then Jericho won the tag team championships instead of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jericho's going to Jericho.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just. That is the story of Proud and Powerful throughout AEW, is somebody else steps in line ahead of them. And maybe that's the source of the heat. Maybe one of them's like, no, we need to stand up for ourselves. Right? Well,
I think that there's also somewhat of a theme. Some of it has been very noted. Some hasn't, about, AEW, seemingly feeling like a land of opportunity and not being it for some people, that the promotion has been something that was maybe,
a lot of those first year contract signings were sold on the concept that this was a wrestler's promotion, which means that you can, if you are a wrestler's wrestler, you can rise to the top. And then, to your point, that didn't produce. I have feelings, y'all.
It will be tough to see one or both of them leave.
I want to just again go on because the internet's gonna hear this kind of thing. I am not anti-AEW. I love tuning in. I don't have to watch them. Dusty's got that job, but I still love to tune in and see what they're doing. I may sound critical, but it's because I want something that's not the WWE to succeed right now. That's really where I'm coming at from this. I don't know I can't speak for my podcasting mates here, but, I really want AEW to be just round that corner and be like a really amazing promotion instead of just a very good one.
Me too. Yeah. There's just a couple of details that they're lacking on, and I don't know what they need to do. They just can't seem to find the keys to those locks. But this week, especially with the Thunder Rosa thing, that finally felt important. So maybe that's one small step.
I did have a fantasy booking thing when you mentioned this. Imagine if they took a camera or maybe two down to Mexico and you just had some LFI film some squash matches down there.
Yeah, it'd
Imagine
be incredible.
right? Just imagine
It's
how
so
much
good for those kids
yeah.
to be in the ring with LFI, and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot that would be. I mean, everybody would benefit from it, and even us
Right?
as the fans, the company would benefit, the wrestlers would benefit. Like,
It would make Dark. So I talked about this on the off the air. Dark has a very dedicated fan base of regulars that show up, but it would make more people curious about maybe I should tune in this week to Dark if they mixed it up a little more. They kept doing these matches from other places, or they had indie wrestlers that aren't signed just wrestling matches on Dark unannounced. Right? I mean, just even that would help. Can you just imagine if instead of revealing, instead of, doing a big TV reveal, they just had the new LFI member come out for a match? They didn't even announce him as LFI, and then later when he's announced as LFI, they're like, "Oh, we should have seen it was coming. It was on Dark."
yeah.
Just, yeah.
Yeah, there's just lots of little things they could be doing like that to make it feel important. And they've never pulled the trigger on making Dark feel important. And then I had high expectations for at least Dark Elevation when they announced that there was going to be Dark Elevation, but that's just like their kind of lower mid-card talent, and then they're... Yeah, I don't know, but like I say, hopefully this is the beginning of making Dark feel important, and it also makes the women's division feel important. It's the first AEW title to be defended internationally, I believe. And so, I guess it wasn't defended, but it opens up for a title defense.
Yeah.
But,
Well, also, I guess also first televised champion, or first champion in AEW in a televised match overseas.
There's what we're
there we
looking
go.
for.
Yeah. That's the, roundabout. Cause it's a very big deal, that we have a AEW champion wrestling overseas in a televised match.
And in such a great match, too. They really picked a great matchup and had a fantastic match. And like I say, you'd expect it to be crazy. It's not. It's more reserved and tells a story, and it's more emotional. Like, it's an incredible match. I highly recommend everybody check out Dark this week.
Right. Well, up next we're going to be moving into MLW Major League Wrestling. And this week we had Kings of Coliseum, which is serving, I believe, as MLW's kind of season finale. They didn't necessarily coin it as that, but in announcements during the show, they mentioned that a new season of MLW will be kicking off, and it's going to launch with the event happening in El Paso. I believe in August. So I am not sure if we're going to have a little bit of a break in MLW content. If we're going to jump more back into underground stuff, we'll kind of see in the few weeks ahead. But it does kind of seem like we're kind of turning over a chapter in MLW. As far as matches this week, really one mainly lucha adjacent match, and that was Matt Cross versus ACH. This is self-ammunition of both wrestlers was very high, so it's exactly what you imagined as far as a very well wrestled match. Both of them really was able to respond to each other's moveset very quickly and smoothly. And again, you kind of got a lot of Matt Cross's big things. He got the cartwheel back elbow, the springboard cross body, and of course he used the shooting star press to win, which again for him is important in really kind of establishing his status in MLW as kind of possibly a higher mid-card guy. MLW is something that's really interesting too, where you have, of course, your main feuds, in this case, this week's episode, Hammerstone versus Richard Holiday, but also setting up, competitors for some of the middle titles. Of course, now this seemingly was somewhat of a blow-off match between Hammerstone and Richard Holiday. So now they're in this, phase of or state of where they need to really build up the next, challenger for Hammerstone. But you have the middleweight championship there in MLW, the openweight championship, which are your two main mid-card titles. And so Matt Cross seems really well positioned, I think, for either one of those lining up. But also, possibly someone too that could have a great match with Hammerstone, and even if it is kind of a match that's just featured on Fusion as a one-off, it still could be a really great match in general. But not so much lucha content this week. We really didn't even get a whole lot of Azteca Underground storyline. I don't know if we'll kind of get that back into the flow with the new season, obviously because of the El Paso tie-in and that being a very lucha libre centric show or taping that they're going to do. But in general, again, as we talked about too, MLW having a very consistent, strong lucha libre presence on a weekly basis. With, highlighting luchadors, from really all over and having like matches on a weekly basis, which is very rare, for a promotion, seemingly. What are your guys' thoughts on that? At least, now with MLW possibly doing this, season finale, and that utilization of luchadors within this, quote unquote season of MLW.
Yeah, go ahead, Dusty.
I think that MLW, I don't know if you guys follow Boss Fight Studios on
Yes.
on social media, but they're getting toys now, and apparently the luchadors are really figuring into that. Eric, the guy that owns Boss Fight, was talking about designing the boots and drawing the laces and everything, how much he enjoyed that. And so I think we're going to see luchadors continue to be a big, big part of MLW. I think they're going to be extremely important to MLW. The lucha thing, especially the kind of Azteca Underground thing, like that's so unique and so special to MLW and gives them such a unique and special feel. We've seen some King Muertes merchandise lately. I think that lucha is going to be big. I think we're going to see a lot more of it soon.
They definitely positioned themselves to want to do lucha libre before COVID happened. So I think they haven't backed off on that yet, in my opinion. And I think,
even way back in the day, Vampiro was a big guy for MLW.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So they've always had a spot there. Some of that was because Vampiro was a big ECW presence, and they were kind of channeling their inner ECW for a while. But of recent history, they very much positioned themselves where they want luchadors to be in a prominent position. So, like, to Miranda's point, they seem to be on every episode. They had MLW Underground or Azteca Underground, and they seem to be ready to move in on that again. I hope we see some more matches from Mexico like we did before the lockdown. I hope we see more random luchadors pop in for maybe one-off appearances, and I can tell that they're gonna continue to make a big deal out of it. And as I've gone on record on the show and saying, as well as other people I've talked to, I think Lucha Libre is on its way up again. I think
Absolutely.
it's going to rival New Japan for popularity as a alternative to American independent wrestling.
Yeah. Well, Dusty, you talked about it a little bit earlier, but the big news that also broke out with MLW earlier today is that MLW and Hot Topic are in a merchandise partnership. So now MLW licensed apparel and accessories will be available at Hot Topics. It's going to feature over 80 different t-shirts, hoodies, and tank tops. It's going to feature wrestlers like your World Heavyweight Champion Alex Hammerstone, Davey Richards, Jacob Fatu, Taya Valkyrie, and Microman. And the collection's already available on Hot Topics website. So you can check out now, all of the Major League Wrestling merch that's available. That does include some pretty fun Microman merch that's already up and going. Several different designs there. General MLW merch as well. And it's a pretty big deal. Cause I mean, we saw how much the, Hot Topic partnership has helped with promotions like AEW, WWE, even Mass Republic.
I was going to say, we can't leave the bosses out.
Of course, I got to do the best for last. Duh.
You want to talk about a cool Taya shirt? Mass Republic has a really cool Taya shirt at Hot Topic.
Yes.
So now we've doubled the amount of Taya that's available at Hot Topic, which is...
That is the hope. I believe, I'm checking right now that I don't see any specific Taya merch out currently, but I imagine hopefully soon they will have Taya merch available at Hot Topic. My hope, that is the hope. But as I'm browsing the website right now, as I'm going to figure it out, I don't see it yet. I could have just missed it. But I'm sure that's coming up. And yeah, just again, the national reach that Hot Topic has, again, is one of the reasons why Mass Republic decided to partner with Hot Topic, was the ability to have kind of a far spread ability to, have merchandise more readily available for fans. I do see a King Muertes t-shirt that looks pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hinting to when I said that I'd seen some King Muertes merchandise. Like, it is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, make sure to check out your local Hot Topic, but also HotTopic.com for Major League Wrestling merchandise. And again, the reach of Microman is spreading. Micromania is running wild on all of us.
And while you're on the HotTopic.com website, pick up a Mass Republic shirt too. Pay our bills.
Yeah, and check out that Taya shirt. The Taya shirt Mass Republic has is really cool.
They have the old school Sikosa shirt too, which is one of the first ones I got. So, I mean, we are not officially shills for Mass Republic, but if you talk to Kevin or Ruben for very long, they're going to whip out the phone and show you some pictures of stuff. And it always gets me excited to go to Hot Topic and buy a shirt. So
yeah.
Oh, I joke now that you can buy your My Chemical Romance t-shirt and MLW t-shirt now all in one place. And yeah, all the Mass Republic gear is still available at Hot Topic. You can check it out at HotTopic.com. In the search engine, you can type in Mass Republic, and a lot of the merch will just be popping up.
Pops right up.
Yeah. La Facción Ingobernable. There's some Toro Blanco merch, Dragon Lee, in particular. There's lots of just really cool merch from Mass Republic, located at Hot Topic. Of course, Taya's shirt. There's a Selena De La Renta, shirt, still available. Conan, Laredo Kid, Lady Maravilla, Christy Janes. Also Hot Topic, still a pretty good source for wrestling merch. Who knew? So that is this week in Major League Wrestling. And we talk so much about just going on Hot Topic's website right now. So while you're on internet.
I knew it.
Yeah. I mean, look, we all can multitask. We all can do more than one thing. So while you're at Hot Topic's website browsing for your Major League Wrestling or Mass Republic t-shirts and gear, why don't you check out luchacentral.com? Brendan, please tell us more about luchacentral.com.
All right, let's do this. So if you're listening to this and you haven't visited luchacentral.com, it's really time to do it. luchacentral.com is the online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news in English and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area. Find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. Place to have your voices heard from weekly polls to annual awards. Seen and read by top executives in all of the major Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. And on top of this, it's still free. LuchaCentral.com is your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre.
Wonderful. We are going to be moving on next into This Week in WWE. Dusty, tell us what happened.
Yeah, well, we had a little bit of development with some, more of the Mysterio story. We had Rey Mysterio facing Finn Balor. Finn Balor defeated Rey Mysterio, but it was the first clean finish Finn Balor had in a long time in a singles win. It feels like since his U.S. Championship title match that he won. And yeah, very interesting there. But the story of the match was Rey Mysterio's back. They worked it over pretty heavily in the match. Finn wore his tights for the first time in a long time, brought his A game, landing 2 separate pendulum backbreakers, and worked Rey's back over from there. All in all, Finn just had great offense, looked very strong. Rey did a great job selling. He had a especially nice-looking top rope Hurricane Rana spot, as well as a powerbomb spot to the outside. But it wasn't enough. Finn was able to pick up the win after hitting a super strong-looking coup de grace. Great match. Just disappointing that Rey Mysterio didn't win. But as we had seen on social media last week, kind of after the match, Judgment Day have been making overtures towards Dominic. But there's always the intangible there with Rey and Dominic being aligned. Could it be that we see them both join Judgment Day, give them an air of legitimacy? But we've also seen some vignettes for Edge coming back. And, if they aligned with Edge to take on Judgment Day, like a hyper babyface trio of Edge, Rey, and Dominic, there's so many exciting things there that they could do and that finally make the Mysterios feel important and, for lack of a better word, mysterious again. What are they going to do? What's going to happen? It's the first time I felt that way about the Mysterios in a long time in WWE. And that alone is just so important, that, sense of interest that they've created with them. A lot of good stuff here. What do you guys think? Either one of you guys have an opinion on what they may do or what they should do?
Well, I think what Judgment Day right now is somewhat floundering too, because there doesn't feel like a definitive leader.
Right.
Since Edge was ousted, it was kind of the assumption that, possibly Finn Balor was going to be the leader. And maybe that was somewhat of the plan, but now with Rhea out, you just have more of a tag team, and it just doesn't quite feel like Finn is the leader, or is he supposed to be the leader? It's still very vague. And so I feel like establishing somewhat of a hierarchy within the Judgment Day is really going to give it a better identity, whether that is adding Dominic and then establishing Finn as the actual leader, or what, something just has to happen where it's a little bit more clear about, who is leading the Judgment Day. I could see it both ways. I do think it's interesting if there's been so much conversation around, Dom turning on his dad. Rey has been very adamant about, that not being part of a, storyline that he wants to be a part of, and so I don't know if that means Rey would then somehow be part of Judgment Day, but I also don't think that that's a good fit for Rey either. So I could see it going somewhere interesting, but I don't see it going in that direction. I do think that what they're trying to do is establish Judgment Day as a team, but at the same time, is it against somebody that truly matters? And I hate saying that about Dom and Ray, but, I think that the last big interesting thing was, that tag team match against, Miz and, Logan Paul? Yeah, Logan Paul. That was a very fun, interesting feud, because there was so much to tell, but also was a lot more kind of fun and lighthearted, where, here, because of Mysterio's losing so much, and it's, just this whole Ray and Dom dynamic that they never really tend to even tease around, to me, it just doesn't seem like even if the Judgment Day get over, I don't think it's going to have the same for impact that possibly they're hoping for.
So I agree with Miranda. I don't think that, initially, I don't think that it's a good fit for Ray to be with, Judgment Day. But it's also rudderless and kind of, floundering on its own. And then I remembered my feelings back in the day. I didn't think that, Ray was a good fit for the Filthy Animals either. So he's a big enough professional that if they do something like that, and I don't trust them to do it because, WWE right now, the only thing I trust them to do is make the wrong choice. But if they did it, if they pulled the trigger on it, I have all the confidence that Ray could do something interesting with it if he was not handcuffed by creative. So I'm curious to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, he did a great job in the Filthy Animals, and it's been a long time since we've seen heel Rey Mysterio, and that could be really fun and interesting too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unique stuff going on there. And we don't want to forget SmackDown. We did have something of interest on SmackDown this week, but it was the Usos defeating Los Lotharios. This was largely a filler match taking place in the background of the Usos versus Street Profits feud. You can always tell when WWE has little interest in a match or when it means nothing when it starts during the commercial. And that's exactly what this match did. Start during the commercial.
Yeah.
We got to see just under 2 minutes of this one before Alberto got shoved off the top rope, super kicked, and then the Usos hit the 1D for the obvious win. But at least we got to see Los Lotharios on TV for a couple of minutes. It'd been a while since we'd seen them in ring. They've had a couple of backstage segments. But
it just hurts.
Already, yeah. Can you imagine somebody like Angel Garza, the looks, the talent, the ability to talk, everything that he's got, and you don't use him?
Yeah, they've got a legit once-in-a-lifetime talent in him, and they're just burying him under commercial breaks and with bad feuds. What the hell?
Well, and people say things like, I don't know if he's the next Eddie. He doesn't have to be. Eddie wished he was Angel Garza. If Angel Garza was here now or Eddie was here now and saw Angel Garza, he'd say, I wish I was more like that kid. Angel just has it. People are focusing too much on him being like other people and not on what he can do because he can do it all.
And not on what he is doing. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like the total package. And yeah. Yeah, if I had a promotion, Angel Garza would be my champion.
Well, yeah, if I were to do a fantasy draft right now, Angel Garza is my first rounder.
Yeah.
He's so good.
So good.
He's
so
good.
Perfect. He makes it look, we talk about Phoenix, we talk about John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, whatever you want to call it, how effortless and how fluid they make it look. But we don't talk as often about Angel Garza and how fluid and effortless he makes everything look. He is so just perfect in what he does, everything, and his attitude in the ring, his facial expressions. Right. If you haven't seen Angel Garza in a while, you need to check him out. He is so good. And they're using him in these 2-minute tag matches, feeding them to the Usos to make them look strong for the Street Profits match.
I say, don't worry, he'll get a little bit of a push as they head into October before they get to Mexico, and then they'll just...
Yeah. Then he'll lose in his hometown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, my words. Mark my words. We'll see a bit of a push before they head into Mexico.
True.
And then after that, they'll forget about him again.
It's true. Well, and yeah, because the WWE doesn't let you win in your hometown. His downward spiral begins while he's in Mexico. So yeah. No, it makes me so sad. Like, for those of you who don't know, who haven't, to Dusty's point about we haven't seen him, it's because WWE hasn't given us anything on this. Like, I will happily shoot you footage from his time in Chaos or AAA, just like anything, just anything where he is not in the WWE and you can see. Now he's raw and unseasoned in a lot of that, especially like when he was up in Monterey, he was super, super green, but you could still see the potential. And, it's just there. He would be a top of the card star if he wasn't being buried. I guarantee it.
Absolutely.
Any promotion would be using him to the fullest of his abilities, which are nearly limitless. Sorry, Keith Lee.
Yeah. Well, it also makes me wonder about Vince's kind of power backstage. Allegedly, things are still the same as they ever were, but also allegedly Vince was very high on Angel Garza, and that's why we saw so much of it. He thought it was hilarious when he tore off the pants and everything.
It is.
So yeah, it is. It's amazing. And so Vince even got it. And we thought we were going to see more of that, and then that kind of backed off as some of the scandals and news with Vince McMahon, but now we see Angel coming back in a 2-minute match. I don't know what to make of it, but I wish they'd make better use of them. Hopefully the fan momentum can get behind them. We've seen where fans, it doesn't happen as often in WWE, but it doesn't take much to have a star-making moment like Becky Lynch had.
I was there in the room for one of them, so yeah, I was part of Daniel Bryan's friends and family package back in the day, so I've seen it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. I've also been there for the 7 minutes of booing, so WWE fans can change the course of somebody's career if they really get invested in it, but they think they've been so broken and so beaten at this point, which is not.
Well, they've got to give us more to get invested in. Like, if they would just give us more of Los Lotharios matches, I think the fans would get behind them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like we've been saying, we've gone on about this. It's probably going to become one of the things we hang our hat on for this week's show, but Angel Garza is way beyond better than the position he's been given. He could be a top guy right now, and I'm just going to keep saying that because
he's one of the best in the world, and he never gets to show it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just disappointing.
Well,
Angel, quit. There's so many you may not make WWE money, but you will get a career that you can hang your hat on if you go anywhere else. Literally anywhere else. Okay. Folks, I don't think Angel Garza listens to our show.
Yeah.
But he might.
He might. There you go. Well, if he does.
Blink twice into the camera if you hear us, Angel.
Yes. Well, that is this week in WWE. Don't forget that you can check out results on luchacentral.com. We are going to be transitioning into our final news story of the week, and that is NXT. First, I want to revisit a show that we don't talk a whole lot about, and that's NXT Level Up. And that's just because I got things to do on Friday night, so I'm not usually watching Level Up. However, something that I did find note of on last week's Level Up show, which was July 8th, a very big win for Yulisa Leon. She defeated Ariana Grace, and I believe this was her first singles win. So her and Valentina Feroz are still, partners, and Valentina came out with her. And this was noted, as far as one of Leon's better matches. So she won. And I think, again, with a Level Up somewhat being a little bit like a dark of sorts for NXT, I think it's a great opportunity for some of their newer talent to get that experience on television. So usually people who have a little bit of a push or a win on Level Up is kind of a way to test the waters. And also sometimes that does translate into storylines that are happening on NXT 2.0. So just something of note for Level Up. Sometimes some things happen, some pretty big milestones, especially for some of the newer wrestlers on NXT. But this week on NXT, well, some things happened, and that's very vague, but that's also because there were some things that were very definitive, and others, well, we're still kind of waiting to see. First off, prior to this week's show, it was announced that Roxanne Perez was going to be facing Mandy Rose one-on-one. However, I believe it was after the first match, we found Roxanne Perez, who was laid out in the parking lot. I think it was actually as the show started, I apologize, that she was laid out in the parking lot. So she was attacked. And all throughout the night, it was a whodunit. Who attacked Roxanne Perez? And that was, kind of trickled into backstage segments, throughout the show. But for our Legado sighting of the night, last week Tony D'Angelo told Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro that they needed to prove themselves in order to, maintain and still be part of the family. Also, as we saw last week, Santos Escobar was out, because Tony D'Angelo had, attacked him. Now that he said he didn't, but it was very much alluded to that. So this week on NXT, Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo faced the team of Malik Blade and Idris Inofi. After the match, in which, Stacks and Tony D'Angelo won, Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro were pretty much forced to beat on Malik and Idris to kind of show their loyalty to the family. So this was, very reluctantly, seeming like, but it also is kind of the next step in this story about, Tony trying to truly incorporate Legado into the family. So it does, again, we talked about it last week about what this means for Santos, where we may see him. He did post a tweet, I believe, earlier this week, pretty much saying that he was going to return, that he was going to make his comeback. So it does seem like we are going to get Santos Escobar coming back, and trying to win back the family, and kind of get the second leg of this story. Was that your kind of impression as well as after seeing his post on social media?
I think he's going to beat the fools up. I think he's going to load that mask with some legacy and heritage and headbutt them until they stop moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think he's going to show up and whoop some ass.
Hopefully.
It's time. I'm ready.
Time. Yes.
Yeah. The tone very much was not, I'm going to play politics. He wants to kill somebody, so.
Yes. Venganza. Vengeance will be his. For the main event of the show, we did get the Women's Championship match. To begin with, though, Cora Jade came out, Toxic Attraction, came out kind of gloating, and Cora Jade came out to interrupt them. Cora Jade being the tag team partner of Roxanne Perez, and they won the NXT Women's Tag Team titles last week. But then we did see Roxanne come out. She had the taped ribs, so, that's always a good old sign that, she was beat down. But the match did go on, with, Roxanne Perez. However, we did get the moment the shot heard round the world, and that is when Cora Jade turned on her tag team partner, and we found out who really did lay out Roxanne Perez, even though, it's pretty much alluded to, and it was her tag team partner, Cora Jade. So, Mandy Rose, of course, retained her title, but, it was something else. So, this leaves the NXT Women's Tag Team titles in an interesting predicament. There's lots of people who are saying this is their way of killing those titles, especially since the main roster does not have NXT or does not have women's tag holders right now. NXT is probably just kind of pulling the cord on that as well. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think that's what's happening here? Is that this is NXT's way of getting rid of the women's tag titles?
I hadn't even considered that, to be honest with you, but it sounds very WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's probably a mandate that came from the top. So, no women's championships and tag team championships anymore. And that's it's more than just a weird little shame. Like it wasn't that long ago we were praising NXT for having one of the best women's divisions in all of wrestling, and we were saying it was actually one of the best divisions, period. And now it's super weak, top to bottom. Like NXT, SmackDown, Raw are all like super weak divisions, and that's nothing against the individual athletes in there, but there's either the wrong combination of talent and story, or there's yeah.
Well, with all the releases right now, there's really not enough women to put together a tag team division for the women,
there is
even
no
across all brands.
There's no actual tag team anywhere on Raw or SmackDown, near as I can tell. I cannot for the life of me think of a team that's not just two random competitors that decided they wanted to tag together that night. Yeah. I'm sure someone out there on the internet will correct me, but my point is still there that, if you can't think of it, if you can't think, like, even in the men's division, you have the Street Profits. I can immediately name a tag team that is a tag team, even though they've been teasing their breakup for weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the difference. I can't name a tag team right now in anywhere in the WWE. So, for a certain degree, I think it's probably a wise choice to not have women's tag team champions right now, because it just further exposes their weaknesses.
That's true.
That's true. So we will see now. We apparently going to be having more of a one-on-one feud between Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
That I think will be good. I
do too.
That I think is going to be very interesting. And that does also then leave the door open for a new challenger for Mandy Rose's NXT Women's Championship. So there's more to see on NXT. Don't forget to check it out. And of course, our podcast, which will cover what we see in NXT, WWE, and more each and every week. And with that, we're done. We made it to the end of this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us along the ride. Don't forget to check out luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. You can follow Lucha Central on social media at Lucha Central on Facebook and Instagram, and at Lucha Central.com on Twitter. You can also visit Lucha Central's YouTube page that has the archives of all of our episodes of the Lucha Central Weekly podcast, as well as our sister show, the Lucha Central Weekly podcast in Espanol with Pep Carrera. Of course, as well as interviews, matches, and content that you're not going to find anywhere else on Lucha Central's YouTube page. While you're at it, go ahead and follow us on social media. Dusty, can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
Yeah, I am on Instagram at Dusty Murphy, and I am on Facebook at facebook.com/Dusty Murphy.
And Brendan, can you let us know where our listeners can find you?
I am 321 T-shirt guy. That is the numbers 321 T-shirt guy is all spelled out. I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, and I'm all over the Twitters. And after tonight, I might be adding a new handle, which is Angel Garza Mark. But, you know.
Good one. And me, Miranda Morales, you can find me at the hashtag Miranda, hashtag spelled out, on Instagram and Facebook, no Twitter. But also please feel free to reach out to us, as Brendan had made the announcement earlier about if you are an independent wrestler, promotion, fan, and you would like to be highlighted on a future edition of the Indie Roundup, please reach out to us. We'd love to get a video or match announcements or match results that we would love to highlight on the show. We're all fans of independent wrestling and support independent wrestling, and we always want to have a place for it on the Lucha Central Weekly podcast. So reach out to us on social media with your independent wrestling matches and results. Brendan, I know this is your segment, so feel free to chime in with anything else you'd like to share, and let our listeners know about the Indie Roundup.
Oh no, you got it covered. We support the indies in all shapes and sizes. This is a lucha-centric show, but again, all it takes is having one luchador on the show. I might wind up covering the whole card if I like with the cut of your jib. So, send us whatever you got. I don't care if you're I've used this joke before, but I don't care if you're a wrestling watching dog, right? Just send me the stuff. Just give me the hookup with those indie results, man. We covered Wrestle Rec from Pennsylvania last week. I've covered, Lucha Libre, a single Lucha Libre match from Idaho. I was joking about Alaska, but I know wrestlers in the Federation up there. They just got to bring Sonico or somebody else up there, and I'll give you results from there. And, the Japanese indies, the Mexican indies, wherever you're coming from.
And if you are listening to our show on your favorite podcast streaming platform like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Subscribe so that way you get a notification each and every time a new episode of the Lucha Central Weekly podcast drops. You can leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Let us know your thoughts on the show, topics you think we should cover, topics we shouldn't cover, your thoughts and opinions about what we talk about on the show. And once again, a shout out to our streaming partners at thechairshot.com. The Lucha Central Weekly podcast is the official Lucha Libre podcast of thechairshot.com. New episodes drop there on Monday, so you get the advantage by listening to it on luchacentral.com and of course on your podcast streaming platforms. But know that there is another way that you can listen to us through our partners at thechairshot.com. Well, and that's it. So for Dusty Murphy and Brendan Barr, I'm Miranda Morales. Thank you all so much, and we'll be with you, you guessed it, next week.
El canto del